Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unmasked, a Beyond Worthy podcast. Thank you for tuning in and for being here. I'm so grateful. We always start with a few grounding breaths. So wherever you are, standing, walking, sitting, notice your breath. Allow yourself to be in this moment. We forget to slow down and often rush through the day. So I'm giving you permission to notice exactly where you are and be present. And after your next breath, we'll go ahead and make a start. I want to welcome Caroline.
Thank you for having me on here.
So excited and going to cherish this moment together because this conversation is going to bring so much fruit. I already know it. So thank you again for showing up and sitting with me and coming to Teachers College, Columbia University on a day where you don't have class.
I'm very excited to be here with you.
Caroline, I always start with the 3 words that each guest would use to describe themselves. So Caroline is intuitive, compassionate, and creative. Let's start with intuitive. Will you tell us a little bit more about what made you choose that word and how it shows up in your life?
Sure. That is the first word that came to me because I feel that that is how I navigate with my own sort of inner compass. That is this divine sense of timing and when to move, when to sit, when to connect. And it's sort of how I discover grace and harmony in life.
Did it take time to grow your intuition?
I would more say that it took time to learn how to not have intellect and noise clouded out. Because it was definitely always there in childhood. And then at some point in adolescence and early adulthood, the noises without took over more focus. So it was more of a clearing to get back to that connection.
Do you remember a certain time where you recognized thoughts were taking over and started taking steps in the other direction back toward the intuitiveness that you had as a child?
Yeah, I would say around 19 probably was the age where I noticed, oh my gosh, my intellect's in overdrive and I've really lost touch with something that is a very important voice.
Will you share where you grew up and where you were at 19 years old?
For sure. I was in New York City at that point in my second year of NYU, and I had grown up just north of the city. I was born in Nyack, New York, which is very different than Manhattan. Lots of beautiful hiking trails, and you wouldn't even believe you're that close to Oz, so to speak. So I was living in the city, but very much aware of what was just outside it, and almost called to return to those roots in a way.
So you were 19, studying at NYU, and something came knocking? Was it some kind of intuitive push in a direction or away from something?
I would say it entered as a dark night of the soul.
Ooh.
It was very interesting because it was very much in contrast with where I was at 17, 18 when I first got to move in to the city and see what that was all about. And I was so excited to be in the village. And my call to go to NYU was actually that I wanted to come in and see what all the adults in the capital were up to. So I felt like 18 was a grand tour of that. And then at 19, I had to meet the fact that I didn't encounter much joy or much connection in the way that I was looking for it. And so I wondered if it existed in the adult world. And that was a dive.
What did it feel like?
All motivation to the things that I had committed to sort of evaporated. It felt like my studies in political science were not connected to my root anymore. I didn't know why I was doing any of what I was doing. I didn't wish to go out into the world for a while.
Political science. I did not know this about you.
Yeah, I'll be honest, on the Common App, I wrote that I wanted to be a spy because I didn't want to have an office job. That was literally just what I was thinking, is that I'm not going to work a 9 to 5. Don't sit me in front of a computer. And so they advised me to study political science, and I journeyed through that for some years.
Okay, so following NYU and your political science endeavors, what next? What happened after?
After stepping away, I did return to study psychology and contemporary dance, which are both very much connected to joy and hope for me. So it was a gradual process of rebuilding a life based on connections that actually spark joy. And it took time to discern what those would even be. So I almost had to clear the slate for a while and then gradually build back.
It sounds like it probably took time to clearly relearn or newly learn things that you loved or wanted. Dance, so fun. And psychology. Was there any tool that you used to discover more about who you were and what you wanted at that time before you chose to redirect and check out psychology and dance?
I would say I was learning to use my body as a compass almost. So I would close my eyes and feel into, does this strengthen my muscular response to life? Am I more excited to lean in, or is there a leaning back? This is not the time for that. An intuitive answer to yes or no.
That requires a lot of self-awareness, doesn't it?
It does.
I've had moments of life where I've just been walking around, don't even recognize the pushes, the pulls, the resistance. So that's amazing. Compassionate is word number 2. Tell us about your compassion. You are very compassionate. I agree.
Likewise. Oh, my greatest call to action is generally to serve others or to be on a team and with a shared purpose. That's one thing that inspires me out of bed, for sure. And I love it when I'm able to find a way to make a connection with anyone in the day that feels like it helps us both to rise.
Wow. If I were to think about the tangible elements of that, does that look like walking up to a stranger or creating a conversation with someone? What does that look like on a day-to-day basis?
Often it is with a stranger. Have a lot of beautiful, perfect stranger interactions. And it could be with a non-human, like let's say a starfish who's stranded on a beach, or, a bird. Depends on who arrives.
Oh, you are a big nature individual, I've learned.
Definitely.
You love nature. What are some of the explorations that you've had that have been your favorite so far in life?
Such a good question. I would say rewilding is one thing that always brings me back to life when I'm not clear on the path ahead. And Antarctica was definitely my favorite mountaineering expedition. So that trip lives on in me forever.
Wow. Were you by yourself?
No, I was with a wonderful team of guides and fellow climbers.
Tell us more about this climbing. Sounds kind of dangerous.
I think actually the training leading up to it was more dangerous because that was less supervised and in situations where you don't necessarily know the conditions. In this case, it very much felt like a festival on a mountain because people all flock there to attempt one particular summit, especially if they're doing the 7 summits. One of them is down there. So we all gather on the mountain and slowly make our way up, tied in a rope line, very much guided all along the path. You can be in your process too as well, though, because since you're separated and it's so cold, you're not chatting the whole time. It's more when you gather at the camp.
Sounds incredible. What does it mean or look like to be in your process?
Such a good question.
Take your time.
I would say flowing with an awareness of what's evolving within and without. So I'm appreciating what's unfolding before me and what's reflecting within that relates to what's happening around.
Do you meditate?
Yes, though it's different every day. I think the process of life itself can be a meditation.
So you have a daily practice, but not very structured, or will you tell us more about just grounding into your day or what meditation looks like to you?
Sometimes it is sitting with a mantra. So it can be more of a standard vision or word-based practice. But sometimes, especially when we have so much homework, it's more of a dance and moving meditation where I keep an internal gaze and let my soul drop in and move me as it needs to.
What is a simple way in which you started becoming aligned with your soul and dropping in?
I would describe it as noticing when you're starting to recharge from within. Instead of seeking that sense of vital life energy from consuming food or external interactions or external stimuli, it's starting to notice how can you cultivate an inner gaze that also starts to recharge your battery without external triggers.
Speaking of food, we were chatting briefly just before this. I love that answer, and I would say it's so important to tune in internally, removing everything else, the labels, the external pressures, influences, all the things. With that being said, you're very intentional about the way in which you fuel your body based on what I've gathered about you. Will you share why that is and what it does for you?
Yeah, I have a long history of exploring how to optimize nutrition. And I will say that I like to feel like I could transmute anything. So I have the ability to digest anything. But what I tend to fill my space with is foods that come from rich soil and are as vitally alive and unprocessed as possible.
Did it take time to learn about that, or have you always been in the know?
Definitely did take time to learn. I mean, I worked at Dairy Queen at one point, and I know my consumption of processed food at that time was wild to think about now. But I would say it becomes more and more natural with time. So I can feel what my body actually would like to have, and then what will give me the energy to go and run for a long period of time instead of needing to constantly hit it with more and more supplements for energy.
I would say it's very common to get wrapped into a lot of voices around food and consumption, nutrition, with all of the misinformation and great information that is out there. I mean, there's so much information that we can grab a hold of right now. And it's hard to know what's right and what's going to make me feel the best and what's going to help me be the most focused or lose the most weight. Whatever it is that people seek, there's almost so much to reach for that in my own experience for a time that was really challenging. Because I would try and grab a hold of something or someone else's lifestyle or some other piece of information that wasn't coming from my internal experience to fix something. For example, make me feel better or more energized. And learning to listen to my body and what it needs is really valuable and often forgotten.
Much agreed. I mean, I think so much of the food is also made to spark more of an addiction pattern rather than a sense of satiation at this point. So I just aim for things with the fewest ingredients possible. And hopefully I can mostly source from farmers who I know love their soil, maintain its health.
Do you notice a difference in how your body feels, how your mind feels, comparing to when you were working at DQ?
Yes, though I was an adolescent at that point, and I do think when you're a young one, your body can run better off whatever it has. I don't have crashes in energy like I used to when I would eat things with sugar added. Hunger does not hit like it used to. It more registers as tiredness now.
How do you react to tiredness?
I'm working with that one because I love sleep. In our society, though, as much sleep as I would like to have, it's unusual to have that much time in the day to sleep. So I'm working on how to meet tiredness and befriend it as a chance to lean back and approach something with a more zen focus. You know, on the mountain, I'll often sleep very little, but there's so much electric energy outside. I'll be so excited. So I aim to bring that to the city as well.
How much sleep ideally would you like to get?
A little over 9 hours. Feels nice. Yeah, that's good.
That sounds like a dream.
Yes.
No pun intended. Okay, creative. Where does your creativity shine through?
I love your questions. I would say I approach all of life as art in a way. Everything that I do is an opportunity to stretch the fabric of what has been done before. So the day is a blank canvas, and let's say as I'm walking down the street, it is a version of an improvisational dance. And there's always an opportunity to bring more presence to the next step and more of a sense of play, right? Even with challenges and problems that I armor up around, I'm seeing those as an invitation to learn a new way of being and moving and dancing. So I'm really working to bring that sense of creativity to everything because, in my opinion, it makes things more fun.
There's so much joy to be had in the present moment and the simplicity of walking and noticing your foot on the concrete or on the grass.
All right here.
It is. One thing I try and remind myself of so often, a little mantra that I'll say in my head is, be where your feet are. And I try to say it throughout the day, especially when I'm getting wrapped up in an anxious thought about the future or a worry about the past. And to be able to say that and be like, oh yeah, I'm actually here in this moment is so life-giving.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
I gave my mom a book for Christmas, and I'm pretty sure the title was The Art of Walking. And it was like by Technicon or something like that. And I think a lot of people would look at that or read some of the lines in the book and be like, this is so lame. Really? We're going to talk about walking and striking your heel on the ground? And that's where the gold is, guys.
Yes. And exactly what you're doing right now. And I find when I call my life force back from either past tripping or, future projections, it just brings more of that connection to the joy. So I navigate with that instead of with a fear of what's coming or recreating something that's come before.
Do you still find yourself being challenged in terms of being pulled to the past or to the future?
I would say less and less, especially as we have been in this program. It's been amazing to see how I can almost let go of any frequency that I was looping around that doesn't spiral out to deeper connection.
What are some of the most important connections in your life?
Family's the first thought that comes to mind because it's where I came from. My partner as well is an amazing constant presence and invitation to show up more in the world. And I have very deep friendships with soul sisters. I've always wanted a literal sister, and then instead I find soul sisters wherever I go. And that, to me, that quality of bonding it lets me flow and reminds me to play anytime I forget.
What would you describe your connection to, say, a higher power or spirit or God? Do you consider yourself religious at all, spiritual? What would you say in that realm?
I'm definitely spiritual. I think there's truth in every religion, though for me, that sense of connection is present all the time and directly accessible through my intuitive awareness. So all I have to do is clear the space of external focus, and it's right there always. It drops right in. Yeah, I would call it source or spirit. Depends. Definitely have some spirit guides and healing teams.
I love that. And so in between, you mentioned being at NYU, going back to school after and pursuing psychology and dance. Where have you been between then and Spirit, Mind, Body program at Columbia?
I've been free spiriting.
Yes.
Oh, I will say my first year out of undergrad, I did work at a private equity firm, though I was the head of philanthropy. So I was giving money away to very valuable causes, and it was a great time. And then after that initial invitation into the intensity of what can be the New York working world, I moved to California and played out there for a bit. I did some acting, modeling, dabbled in various worlds, and really discovered ecstatic dance and different outlets, creative outlets, because I had stopped dancing while I was working at the finance firm. And my partner at the time did an amazing job of pointing out to me that I was losing touch with that creative side. So then I did come back from California and I brought that ecstatic dance spirit back. And I have been guiding transcendent workshops, you could say, since then until our program. Now here I am.
When you think about labels that you have moved through or played with in your lifetime, are there any that are more prominent in your mind that have been challenging for you?
I think dancer is a big one that comes to mind. And because it's such a source of joy for me that I had to do a lot of unlearning to remember the joy attached to dance, because I originally trained in more classical forms, ballet, and I did perform in contemporary ballet even a little bit, but it became removed from joy. And the label of dancer had all these strings attached to it. And I wasn't supposed to ski or take risks that I love to take. And it was also training my body to move in a very specific way. And actually, I love to be doing an improvisational dance through all of life. So it took some unlearning to get back to the pure joy of dance. And I almost had to let go of that title of dancer that comes with all sorts of expectations around who you are and how you use your body.
How did you unlearn the parts of dance that were no longer joyful or not serving you?
For a while, I became formless, like between the caterpillar and butterfly phase, and refused to go to any kind of technique-based classes and gravitated more towards Gaga is a special form of movement that's almost a healing technique for dancers, and you focus on textures of movement instead of appearing like anyone. They cover all the mirrors, and you really let yourself drop in to explore all these different qualities of movement that you can forget you have access to. I think little children remember, but adults very often also forget.
What does that feel like, to dance unable to see yourself and to be in movement?
For me, it's pure euphoria. I tap into a form of energy where it feels directly connected to my source, and I could go for probably all night with no substances whatsoever, just the pureness of allowing energy to move through it. It opens all the channels.
On the flip side, what did it feel like when it was more performative, achievement-based, expectations and pressure around you? What was it like then, if I'm describing that accurately?
Yeah, you do. It's a great description. I would say there were elements of transcendence there too. Like in all the challenges of, for instance, dancing on point, I did connect to a natural high as well and would almost dissociate from the pain to get to that sense of connection. And as though spirit was flowing through and guiding me into the movements. And that could be very uplifting. But for me, there was always a crash at the end of it. Either I, discover that I have some injury because I was moving in a very specific way and my body didn't agree with it, but I wasn't present in it at the time to know. Or just energy would be very low after performances.
Did you have a hard time transitioning from being in that more performative element of dance to using dance as more of a self-expression that was freeing and euphoric?
Yes. I would say for a moment, I would even focus on not dancing, consciously not dancing, because it felt so attached to this perfectionist drive to perform with the best technique and appear in a very particular way. And that was very divided from actually allowing myself to emerge through the act of movement.
So real. Do you notice that perfectionism showing up in other areas of life or having spread elsewhere?
Yes, I would say it was previously very attached to school and academics. It's a lot lighter now, though we're here, so I think it helped. And I've done a lot of work around letting go of that drive to try to be some external ideal or almost to be done, like to have achieved the life that someone else has had success with.
It's tough. It's tough to let go of the perfectionistic tendencies coming from another perfectionist.
How have you done it?
Oh, God, I haven't. I'm still figuring it out, guys. If anyone has tips, let me know. No, I've done quite a bit of reading research around perfectionism in athletics, specifically females, and how to come at it from an angle that is more adaptive than maladaptive. One is rooted in fear. If you're so afraid of making a mistake, then there's this misalignment of striving for something because you're so afraid. Whereas coming from a place of acceptance that, yes, I want to excel and be exceptional in this. I accept that it's not going to be perfect, or I accept that the other side might look differently than I planned. And so often perfectionism for me has been rooted in shame of not showing up as the best. So trying to diminish that is what I would say I work towards, and asking myself the question of, am I doing this thing or saying this out of fear of the outcome? It's a process.
Yeah. Did this come up in your soccer experience?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think many athletes, which is in some ways required to reach a certain level. I mean, you think of an Olympian and it's like, come on, who can argue that you can't be somewhat of a perfectionist to reach that type of level? But like I said, I think it's perfectionism in the preparation and then the ability to let go in the competition. Back to you.
Great reframe.
What would you say it means to you to feel worthy?
I feel worthy when I am open, present, and grounded. And I mean open to connect with whatever's emerging in the external world and also the internal world.
Has there been a time where you haven't felt worthy?
Yes, in that, my father's typical daily question is, how did you justify your existence today? In a very utilitarian sense. And my being has never resonated with that sense very well. So I would often fabricate a way to respond. And that program would leave me in a perpetual state of feeling like I couldn't justify, being in a physical body with all that we have to consume and all the space we take up. It just, from that sense, it never worked well for me in integration or in feeling worthy.
Yeah, can't it just be enough to show up?
I feel that way now. I find that when I show up in full presence and ready to connect with love, it amplifies whatever is happening and unfolding, and it's very much appreciated.
When you experience moments of feeling unworthy, say, prompted around a question like that, or just in day-to-day life, what are tools you might use to come back to recognizing your worth?
Movement is my number one tool. It could be going for a stroll and being open to connection with a perfect stranger who I can then help. Or dancing to my favorite song with no one watching. I also have a trampoline, and I will bounce on that, and that shifts everything very fast.
Is it a mini one?
Yeah, it's a rebounder.
Oh, gosh, love those.
So good.
Do you play music too, or is this silent?
Yes. Oh, music, and I have a red light, and it's a whole experience.
Incredible. Wow. I love that. Got to get one of those.
Yes.
We used to have a big trampoline when I was a kid, and it was so fun, but it didn't have a net around it. So we ended up having to get rid of it because something with where our house was located, they're like, you either have to buy a net or get rid of it for safety reasons. And we got rid of it. It was so sad.
Oh, those are so cool. That, with a bunch of kids on them, you are asking for adventures.
Oh, yeah. Very dangerous looking back. I could have just bounced off of that thing multiple times. What is an assumption people often make about you?
Sometimes that I'm shy, which is interesting, I think. It likely stems from my tendency to be quiet when we first meet, and really my eagerness to perceive what's emerging in the field and for the other. And so I don't really fill the space with an agenda or a ton of details about myself unless someone will ask. And they often perceive that as, oh, she's somehow not wanting to be fully seen.
What does it make you feel like when someone clearly thinks of you as being shy or outright says you're a shy person?
I think it's pretty funny because they would know if they asked a few questions that I don't hide much, and I don't really take things personally. I feel we're here to pull the life out of each other. So I'm so ready to share as deeply as someone's ready to go. Just say, I need to know that they actually want to go there together.
There's a lot of power in asking questions and listening.
You're amazing at it.
Oh, thank you.
It feels so good to be dropped into this quality of presence with you.
I appreciate you. That's sweet. What would you say to someone who struggles to listen, struggles to embrace the silence of dropping in and being intentional about seeing someone fully?
I would say don't be hard on yourself. I have some very close people to me who have a tendency to fill a lot of the space. And I almost see it as coming from a sense of social anxiety where they're doing it from the desire to connect, but there's this fear of the empty space and what might emerge there. And so if you can just notice your breath and hold some eye contact and leave a space of wonder with a sense of play, whenever it occurs to you, that could be helpful.
I think it's probably one of the hardest things is to leave room for silence to breathe in society today. Because of the anxiety, because of the perfectionism, not wanting to be judged for not having something to say, or the rushing around, I just see it as something people really struggle with, myself included. I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
Because I recognize how much value there is in space and holding it with just as much importance as speaking.
I would like to turn that last question back to you and know how you feel people have perceived you in a way that it just doesn't feel quite true.
I would say there's been multiple times where someone has assumed that I've got it all figured out and I have it all together, that nothing's wrong, that I don't need help, that I'm happy, because either someone doesn't ask similarly, or in ways there's a responsibility on my part because I'm trying to show up wrapped in a bow when I'm far from perfect. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, of course. I almost want to dive into that, wondering around what would that idea of showing up as perfect even be? Because for me, the notion of showing up as perfect has become divided from life in that it feels like a fixed ideal, like it's dead, it's done, it's an image, it's set. And as soon as it starts to actually move with life, it's not that one freeze frame of perfect anymore.
So well said. We can carry that on off camera because I just looked at the time.
Oh.
Unfortunately, we have to close. Dang it. You can come back.
I would love to.
Caroline, thank you so much for being here and for being you and letting silence breathe, all the things. I'm so glad that you were a guest and it was an honor.
Such an honor to be here with you, Rachel. Thank you for sharing and asking so many divine questions.
Caroline, everyone, intuitive, compassionate, and creative. My name is Rachel Peck. You've been listening to Unmasked, a Beyond Worthy podcast. Thanks for being here. Hey everyone, before you go, please click the subscribe button. And if you have any desire to further support the mission of Unmasked, there is a link in the comment section of all of my episodes that says support the show. Feel free to click on that. There is an option to donate anywhere from $1 and beyond monthly or one time. So do that if it feels aligned. Otherwise, would love for you to keep listening and return to Unmasked as always. Thanks.